Good afternoon and hello, everyone. My name is Rich Longo, and I'll be your host for today's presentation. And thank you for joining us for our webcast on BMC Remedyforce Winter 2021. Our presenter today will be none other than Flycast Partners' very own Kyle Hamilton. Kyle is an experienced pre-sales senior solutions consultant with extensive experience in collaborating with clients on IT strategies. He has been in the IT industry for well over 20 years. Kyle has experience in a variety of IT tools and publishers ranging from IT service management, IT asset management, IT operations management, and many more outside of that. He worked for BMC for years prior to coming to the Flycast Partners team and has experience from multiple types of positions in the industry, allowing him to have the bigger picture in mind when helping organizations with their IT needs. Before we get started, Kyle, let me introduce Flycast Partners.
Flycast Partners offers best-in-class implementation services and training in IT service management, IT asset management, IT operations management, IT security, enterprise service management, and workload automation spaces using ITIL best practices. Our professional services team has well over 5,600 professional services engagements, both on-site and remote. Yes, remote has been particularly important during this time of pandemic. As a company, Flycast Partners has well over 1,200 regular customers all throughout Canada and the United States. I encourage you to reach out to us at 844-FLYCAST, that's 844-359-2278, or visit our website and chat with one of our IT experts live Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. They're happy to get you those white papers, data sheets, demos, answer any questions that you might have. And if you're not comfortable with calling or chatting with us, email us at info@flycastpartners.com. During today's presentation, we will be taking all of your questions live, so please type those questions in the questions section of this GoToWebinar tool, and I will read those off to Kyle, and he will answer as many of those questions as time will allow. Without further delay, I'm going to turn it over to you, Kyle.
So good afternoon, everybody. As Rich mentioned, my name is Kyle Hamilton. I'm an engineer with Flycast. I'm going to take you on a tour of Remedyforce service management tool today. We're going to be looking at the Winter 21 release. So for those of you that are on the phone that have previous experience or using Remedyforce currently, we'll make sure to highlight some of the key differences in the features I'm going to show. So the first thing I'm going to talk about, I'm going to take a look at is the Remedyforce self-service portal. So for those of you that may be new to Remedyforce, this is a self-service interface that's geared specifically towards the customer so that they have the ability to submit tickets without email or phone call. And you can see you can give them multiple channels of support, whether it be the ability to search the knowledge base, access to quick templates, as well as, of course, the service catalog. And you'll see right up top, kind of front and center, the search box. Now, for those of you that are familiar with Remedyforce or used Remedyforce, one of the key differences in the Winter 21 release is an enhanced interface. They've taken advantage of all of the screen real estate. And let me bring this up a little bit so maybe you guys can see a little bit better. To provide just a much more relaxed feel. Everything was jammed up on the previous screen, and you'll notice that the search box at the top now features kind of hot and prominent. It's got kind of a little highlight bar that'll appear when you enable that enhanced search. And as I go through and say I'm looking for Adobe, and I'm going to do a couple of these on purpose, you'll see why in a moment. So that hopefully if I've got a knowledge base article, users can walk through and self-resolve their own issues. Now, let me go through and let's say I want to look for Microsoft. So we'll see, not only does it search and retrieve, FAQs and problem solution articles, but it also at the same time can allow those users to search through that service catalog. So it gives you multiple ways to be able to find what you're looking for, what they're looking for, whether they use the search box, whether they browse from the home page, or whether you provide the little service catalog link and allow them to drill down, categorically to find what they're looking for, or all of the above. They also notice one of the differences in the Winter 21 release and the enhanced interface is they've added these nice configurable pop-up help tips. See little information boxes. So that's one thing that they've added in the latest release is the ability to not only enable those, but to be able to put some content in there so that you can highlight, call out whatever help information you feel may be necessary for those users. Now, the reason I wanted to go in and do a couple of searches, let me refresh this real fast. So out of the box, Remedyforce provides, of course, a library of dashboards for things like incident management and problem management and knowledge management. This one, however, is a new dashboard. They've added a completely new object to Remedyforce so that you can enable it on that self-service search feature. So as I go in and I perform searches, you'll notice it's going to capture my search term and then allow me, of course, to drill down into that report to be able to see, did the user actually get any results from that search term? Did they, get 25 articles and several requests, or was it 0 and 0? So there's some, not only the reports that are here on this dashboard, but there's also about a half dozen additional reports based on that self-service search, so that you can start to immediately get some feedback that you can use to help drive the curation of that knowledge base above and beyond, the knowledge reports and the knowledge management dashboards that are out there now. Now, if you're looking to be able to set that up, there'll be two things you're going to need to do. Number one, if you want to turn on the new look and feel for that Remedyforce interface, that's going to be under your Remedyforce admin, self-service, and you're going to be going to general self-service settings, and it's a simple checkbox and a save to turn on that enhanced view, and you'll see the difference for those that have used that previous version. Now, for the search, you'll need to go to the same place, Remedyforce admin, configure self-service search, and that's going to bring up the search tab. And what you're going to want to do is put the checkbox in this last field, which is the brand new one, and then save there. Of course, that will begin to start tracking all of those search terms that are going into that self-service portal, so that those dashboards and those reports will start displaying some actual data. Now, for your internal staff, the majority of their time they're working out of the Remedyforce Console. This is where they can view all the incoming incidents and requests, changes, problems, what have you, controlled via a little drop-down view that we see at the top. But you also have the ability, they also have the ability to, of course, create tickets for users when they contact the service desk. When I go and create a new incident, a new ticket for a user, and this may look somewhat similar to forms that if you're using Remedyforce now. But what I wanted to call out specifically that they've added now in the Winter 21 release is dynamic forms, which is something that a lot of customers have been looking for some time. So that now, and let me just call it out because it's going to happen so fast, you probably won't see it. In this case, what I've done is I've set up some conditions on my priority field, so that I've got a particular field, so that if I want to generate a broadcast out to my customers in that self-service portal, so it's scrolling across their banner when they log in, then I might want to be able to do that automatically if we get a high priority incident in. Well, you might not want to display that field all the time, which is what you had to do previously. So now you're able to set up conditions so that in my case, if they select that high priority, for that ticket, then it displays the field. But if they don't select the high priority ticket, I'll have to blank it out. If they don't select a high priority, it's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, then they're not going to get that field. And you can do the same type of thing, of course, repeatedly, using all of the previous values in the ticket, so that you can start to set, really clean up the forms, make them really compact and, concise for users that don't need to see, the sum total of everything all the time. And you can even go in and do that so that you can get creative and do that with entire sections, or you can go in and selectively hide, entire groups. So even allowing you to go in and group your fields together logically. So if you've got a field section, software related questions and a section with hardware related questions, then you could use the category as they select that category for that ticket appear earlier in the field. That could then selectively choose whether to display the hardware questions or the software questions as a follow-up. So you can use those dynamic forms to do some really cool stuff with both incidents and changes as of now. Now, in order to be able to configure those dynamic forms, we're going to go, well, let me show you, back from, Administrative Console. And in this case, we're going into App Settings and Consoles. And then you're going to want to select the specific profile that you want to configure this for. So some users may have, some dynamic transformations happening. Other users, other groups may not. So I select the profile that I want to set it up for. And then, of course, I'm going to select the specific layout. So in this case, I want to set it up for my default incident view. And you'll see when I select that at the top, see a little checkbox down here and a little define conditions link. Now that's checkbox is there, and that appears because I've already gone through and done this, but for other layouts that I haven't configured, you'll notice that checkbox is not selected. So again, you may have dynamic layouts assigned to certain users, and you may also have dynamic layouts only assigned to certain layouts, so that some forms may be pretty plain vanilla. Other forms may have transformations on it, depending upon whether you want to set it up for that particular layout. And then, of course, which fields do you want to configure for that dynamic display? So in the case of the broadcast box that I created, it's pretty simple. Display it if priority equals 1. But if you wanted to get more advanced, and of course, you could add additional criteria up here and say account, has to be, customer A and priority 1, because then you may want to ask some specific questions or some follow-up that only pertains to that particular customer. And on, to be able to play with the logic of that, so that, again, you can, set up some very complex conditions, and through the use of these dynamic forms, now be able to go through and perhaps collapse 3 or 4 or 5 different layouts down into a single layout that simply displays the relevant fields and the relevant sections, based on who the ticket's for and who's assigned to, what type of ticket, etc. Now, I'm going to pause here real fast. Rich, do we have any questions so far? Can't hear you, Rich. You may be muted.
Can you hear me now? I'm not sure what's going on with my audio here.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Hi, okay. Sorry about that. Evidently, my mic is no longer working, folks. Sorry about that. If you have questions, folks, please go ahead and type those in. I'll read them off for Kyle. There have been quite a few updates with Remedyforce in 2021 Winter Edition, so please take your time to take the time to ask Kyle while we have him today, while time allows. So type those questions in, and I'll read them off to him. Thank you.
Thanks, Rich. Now, a couple of other features that I'm going to point out specifically that are recent, not in Winter 21, but something that through all of my discussions with existing customers and longtime users, they're still not aware of or still never knew it was there. And it's a great feature to have in an application that you don't see very often. And that's going to be, let's go and grab, let's go back to our admin tab. I'll actually show you two things right here. One is right up here at the top, called the Value Adoption Dashboard. And this is nice because as you're implementing, Service Desk, and a lot of times there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of different modules and components, and you don't know what you don't know. So this is a great way to be able to understand, number one, how much of the tool are you using? Are you getting, dollar value out of the tool the way you hope? Are you leveraging everything available to you out of the CMDB? Are you, leveraging everything in self-service, change management, on and on? With the ability to drill down into those topics so that you can see exactly maybe what you're not taking advantage of, what you haven't configured yet. And of course, providing some details on that and a link that'll take you straight to the docs, that'll walk the administrator through configuring those templates or setting up, the CMDB. So this is a great, tool for administrator, manager, to be able to dive into, so that you could see, because they will be, as they add new features, through the new releases. Of course, those are going to appear here as additional, little business cards with points associated with them. So it's a great way not only to find out what you're using and not using out of the tool, but it's also a great way to find out about what those new features are. Now, some of them don't pertain to things that you can really configure, other than, in other words, they're not going to give you 20 points for going in and checking the enhanced self-service checkbox, as an example. These will typically be things that are going to involve a little more setup, some configuration, or you're going to have to create some records, build some templates and things like that. But that's a great way to get some good information, out of Remedyforce. Now, the other thing that's extremely valuable, now mine won't display everything like, whoops, wrong one. Mine won't display everything like it would in a production environment, simply because I don't have a valid support contract. If you're actually a valid, BMC support user, then what you're going to get is they take everybody's Remedyforce data, they anonymize it, they're just taking the metrics, and you can then go in, and of course you can turn yours on or off, right? That's optional as to whether you want to participate in that or not. But if you do, then you're able to actually get some comparisons for both other Remedyforce customers in your industry or those of equivalent size. And you see, it give you some benchmarks to compare for mean time to resolve and first call resolution, so you can see how you stack up, against the peers. So again, some good, KPI information, besides just, your basic reports and the typical dashboards. Now, something else to call out specifically in terms of administering Remedyforce, and hopefully for those that are completely unfamiliar with Remedyforce, you'd see it's a pretty simple tool to be able to administer, and it's getting easier and easier. But they're always adding new features, and the latest one is the little what fix help box. And you'll notice it's available. It pops up in that little side window wherever you are in the administrator view, and you can come in and do a quick search on your topic. So if you're creating categories or what have you, I really like this because it doesn't just give you the help file, it doesn't just give you, point you to open a website with a wiki page. It's going to give me these nice little pop-ups and actually prompt me through every step, even through the window changes, right? So as I go through, this is a nice way, and those can be configured as well, by the way, so that you can walk users, through a process, especially if you're rolling out, you've never been involved or doing change management in the past, but you want to roll out, a change management process. That's a great way, to be able to walk a user through a series of steps. And you can choose things like how many times you want to display the help text. One time and done. Do you want to see it every day for 7 days straight, and then you'll stop? So you can configure some of that as well. But those can be provided not only for an admin, or a user to walk through a process, but the administrator can also go through and create those same kind of pop-up help boxes around any kind of new feature, maybe that you've created, maybe around the dynamic forms, and you want to let your staff know, kind of like I did, here's what to expect, or here's what you're going to see, when you do this, here's what's going to happen. You can have these same kind of pop-up boxes that first time they open that form after you've made those updates, so that you can highlight those things and force them to click OK, or acknowledge it, so at least you know that you've made them aware of that new feature and how to use it potentially. Now, last but not least, and this is probably one of the coolest updates, I think, to Remedyforce in many releases, is Remedyforce's support now for Salesforce digital experience, or digital experiences. This used to be called Salesforce Community, or Salesforce Communities. Can't remember which. Regardless, what that means to you as a Remedyforce user is it gives you a lot more flexibility over the look and feel of the self-service portal. So now you can take and use the Salesforce digital experience, the Salesforce community site, and be able to expose and use it for interacting and creating incidents or requests with Remedyforce. And you'll see this is what I was talking about in terms of these little walkthrough boxes, right? So this you can configure the same type of a walkthrough for your users. And I mean, I can't tell you how invaluable this could be when you're rolling a tool like this out in terms of getting user acceptance and getting through the training and things like that, rather than having to spend a lot of time in classroom settings or trying to run everybody through. And then the really nice thing is they've now built out everything as Lightning components from that self-service portal. So if I want to add my service catalog now to my digital experience, just drop it up there onto the workspace. And now I've got my service catalog embedded inside of one of those Salesforce digital experiences. And of course, there's, and you can see I can up here and define settings like your titles and how much of the, how many records do I want to show at a time and things like that. And of course, you've also got other components, right? So there's, the self-help articles, the ticket features, whatever you want to add, they've got all those built out now, so that you can add that knowledge library into a digital community page. And of course, you may want to limit the number of articles rather than displaying everything. But it provides for an easy way and an easy way for the administrator to be able to configure without having to write HTML or JavaScript or anything like that. But also provides more of that kind of enhanced web look and feel that everybody's typically looking for, and more of that just digital experience that everybody's used to on their phones and their tablets. So by providing all these new components that you can utilize, now you can easily, put those elements out into a digital experience page and provide this as, or it doesn't even have to be a digital experience page. You can do the same thing with the service catalog, and now that it's a Lightning component, that can be added to any Lightning page inside of Salesforce. So it could be, another page you're using, within another application. By having these now as components, now they essentially become reusable widgets that can be, dragged into and utilized within any application or within any layout on the platform. Now I will say that for, the site, the digital experience piece, number one, there are no checkboxes you have to check, so that's good news. But there is a little bit more effort. Number one, you have to, come into setup first. You have to go into settings. Oh, and I lied. There's a checkbox. You have to click Enable Experience Workspaces. That's the only one you need. So you have to come into Digital Experiences settings, just check Enable and save. Now, if you don't already have, in my case, I already had my domain set up. Keep in mind, if you haven't set yours up yet, because not all customers have, there'll be a box here for you to be able to put. It's always going to be force.com, of course. You're going to get to define that subdomain or the first part of that domain name. And there'll be a little search box there for you to kind of do a little quick DNS type search and let you know if that name's already in use or not. If it is, it'll say available. You hit register button, and then it'll actually register that domain name, that subdomain name with Salesforce, so that now you can type that in as your URL and be able to go directly to that digital experience page that we were just looking at. So this would be, a sample of, because again, the nice thing about the experience pages, and you'll see kind of illustrated here, is you could have, just like a website or web page, I can have a different page for customers, one for developers, one for partners, one for employees, one for full-time contracts. And you can break that out and have those different URLs for as many different sites as you want. Because this customer piece and the developer and the partners, that's all based on the site name, right? And initially, so this is the second piece after you do the settings, is to come to Digital Experiences sites. And when you initially come here, you're going to see nothing, and you're going to have to click this new button. And this will walk you through creating a new site, right? And you'll see that there's some, common, or I won't say common, templates, out of the box templates. Now you'll see there's instructions, and if you want to go into those, the sky's the limit in terms of what you can do. But for down and dirty purposes, you can select an out of the box template and start with that. Apply the look and feel that you want. And once you create it, then you'll be left with, this is where, if you had multiple sites, this is where I'd have a customer site and a developer site and a contract employee site. If I go into the builder, that takes us to that experience page we were just on. So that's kind of how you would get to that point, is to enable those, enable the enhanced setting, and then go in and start, find potentially a template that you want to start with, or create your own. If you can even import. Of course, all of what we're looking at can be imported if you've got, if you're using Salesforce digital experiences already, community page. We could easily just take the same template and apply that, so that Remedyforce would have, you'd have all the service desk content, the self-service content already there, with the ability to just blend it in with the rest of the environment very easily without having to build anything at all. But with the templates and with the ability to create, custom views, you can really take the self-service portal in a whole new direction now, and be able to set this up not just for one group of customers, but multiple. Rich, do you have any questions?
Believe it or not, we do have a question. Can this solution fully replace our ServiceNow platform workflows, capabilities, etc.? That's a great question.
If let me answer that in two ways. That is going to depend, I guess, on how much of that Salesforce platform you're using. So I guess let me answer it like this. Remedyforce provides, out of the box for all of the core ITSM processes. So you've got, see in this little drop down, your incident management, right, your service catalog and request management, of course, problem management, change management. I guess I could actually just click right up here. So you've got incident, problem, change, and release, right? So kind of walking that ladder. And of course, throughout the tool, you've also got the ability to have what we call a task. Now, a task could exist as its own record, just individual, just another way to assign a type of ticket to somebody. Sometimes tasks are used for facilities and incidents are used for IT, things like that. But they can also be used, as child tickets to a release or to a change request, linked records. And you can see something like that in the case of a service request, an onboard request where you've got, a request that, comes in from a user, but then it spawns or has multiple child tasks that are then associated or linked to it. You've got, of course, knowledge management. You've got service level management. So if I'm, tracking SLAs on my requests, I can be able to report and, track all the response times as well as, breaching those SLAs and meeting those SLAs. And then, of course, you also have, go back to my console here. The ability to track and manage assets in your CMDB from within an incident, problem, or change, wherever you are. See there's a little pull-out box or slide box over here. So this is where you can, link a specific device or asset to a change or to a request. So if I was looking for a specific, say I'm looking for a specific device, I want to, and I'll just pull up. Actually, let's do this. Let's do AWS here. Use this as a chance to show the CMDB off a little bit here as well. I'm going to link this AWS instance to this change request. So you could do the exact same thing from an incident or task or problem. What it does, it leaves a breadcrumb behind. And if you click on that, you can see you can create a little business card, but if you click on it, it'll take you into the CMDB view and it'll show you a whole lot, all the details about that AWS environment. If I simply want to see them, I can just click on the little graphic over here in the top right, and that'll give me a, a view of not only the asset that's linked to the ticket, but in the case of, a change request, being able to do things like impact analysis. So I can have it look at upstream, downstream impacts. Let me know, what those would be. And the ability, of course, to see things like support history. Is this, we dealt with this in the past? How many other times have we done this? How many tickets have been created on? How many problems have we had? So it provides all of those core features. Now, there's a lot more I know on the ServiceNow platform than what I just described. So it kind of all depends on whether what you're doing and using in ServiceNow today falls kind of within the parameters of what we've seen and I've mentioned today, or whether you're doing something else like project management or using other parts of the platform that may be outside of the bounds of what Remedyforce would offer. I hope that answered your question.
And if it didn't, go ahead and Marcus, go ahead and send us additional questions if we have them. And the rest of our audience, if you have questions, we still have some time left here, and I'm sure Kyle is happy to answer any questions that you have. Well, if there are no more questions, then I guess thank Kyle for showing us all these changes in the winter 2021 release in Remedyforce. Is very much appreciated. Audience, I appreciate your time today. I know that everyone has busy schedules out there, so we always appreciate when you take the time out to join us for our webinars here. We thank you for that. And as a thank you, all those of you that work in IT, that hold an IT title, not a third-party consultant, but an IT title within an IT department, within 5 business days, you're going to receive a $10 Domino's gift card directly from Domino's headquarters as a thank you from BMC and Flycast Partners. So please keep that in mind. If you have any questions, please reach out to us at 844-FLYCAST. It's 844-359-2278. You can also email us at info@flycastpartners.com, or of course chat with us Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We are standing by to answer your questions, get you data sheets, white papers, demos, whatever it is that you require. With that being said, everyone stay safe out there until our next broadcast.